Hello YouTube, it is Saturday night and we're going to try and play a little bit of Phantasy Star Online. It's been a couple days, but it's been pretty productive. One thing that I got, just jumping right into it, I've been doing my regular rounds through my thrift stores and things like that, and this is something that I've passed over numerous times, and I think now is the time to kind of get in on it. I never got in on it back in the day, and mostly that was due to the fact that I had a good friend at that time, still a good guy, but we don't talk nearly as much as we used to, and we were pretty tight back in like 2006 to 2008, and the Wii was released, and this guy, right before flat screen televisions kind of came the norm, he ended up buying a used rear view projection 60-inch television, and it was amazing. It was the biggest television we'd ever seen at that point. And he also went and he got a Wii. So we did a lot of Wii Sports and tried to play a couple of other games, and it was a lot of fun. I think anybody that was around during that era, gaming, you know, they pretty much did the same thing. They got a Wii, they picked it up. Mostly Wii Sports, I think. For community games and stuff like that, but it was a blast, and I never really did much, never really thought much of it beyond that. Life goes on. I know there's a lot of games that have been released. I know the game is, or the system rather, has long been discontinued, went onto the Wii U, and now is supporting the Switch. So now's the time to get it. Anyways, I was at a thrift store and I managed to find this guy here. Now, it did come with the power supply and did come with component cables, actually, in really good condition. And it came with, let me just get it out here, the two nunchuck controllers, and everything works. Everything's fine. The disk drive works fine. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do much with it because I don't really have that many games. The only game I was able to test out was Super Mario Sonic Olympics, which I had for sale online. I picked it up and didn't really think much to do with it. But I also know you can the homebrew channel is still active, and there's lots of things you can do with the homebrew channel. So my plan is, I've ordered a couple of extra bits and pieces, is to basically just soft mod it and load some games on via USB. But you know, I remember having a lot of fun with games like Mario Galaxy and Mario Kart and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be really nice to kind of revisit it and see if it really holds true. The picture quality is not spectacular. I don't know why back in 2006 Nintendo opted to have no HDMI out, no optical options. You can't even put a Ethernet cable into the back of your Wii. You got to rely on Wi-Fi alone. I guess it was just one of those devices that they thought were going to make very simple. But regardless, the technology was there. You might as well have tried to future-proof it as much as possible. That being said, there's a couple of things that you can buy. You can buy an HDMI adapter, which really doesn't do a whole lot. It's just an HDMI pass-through, or transcoder, takes a signal, transcodes it. So it's still only going to be 480p, but it'll be probably crisper than component. Now that said, my television's pretty decent, so it does upscale the component image slightly, and component's pretty good. Component can handle a 1080p signal, so you don't really have to worry about that. It's just a matter of how much colors you want to maximize and the sharpness and the audio quality and stuff like that. But you know, component cables are quite fine for the Wii. They're quite fine for my PS2. You know, like, I know you can get an adapter to have HDMI out for your PS2, and I just really have no interest. I think component is quite fine if you have a pretty decent television that can upscale the image. So that is just one of the many things I've got in my little magical pile here, but let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into it and see who we can find online tonight. All right. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Crazy the Wii is so old. Yes, it is old, obsolete, and a wonderful thing. Okay, so you need to try and control the dragon and towards the future. Okay, I will. If we do that quest, I'll keep that in mind. USB adapter. Yes, that is one of the things that I did buy for Ethernet. All right, let's just go into online games here. And we're going to go into Phantasy Star Online. We're going to use this, and we're going to use The PSO patcher. Done. Okay, cool. I didn't know that the Switch doesn't have Ethernet, but I guess that kind of makes sense. Just because they tried to really scale down any extra ports on that thing, just to make it portable. Wii is painful in LCD. Well, I actually didn't mind it that much from what I've viewed so far. Now, that being said, it's a smaller LCD. I have a 42-inch television, so it's not, you know, maybe it would look different on an 80. It's not 4K. It's just a regular 1080p. It's what is it again? It's the Panasonic Viera, which at the time was kind of one of the better televisions to get. It's not a smart television. It's about 7 years old now at this point. Once it's gone, like, I'm just kind of waiting it out. Eventually it will die. I'll upgrade. I'll get a smart TV and all that kind of stuff. But you know, back when I got it, I think it was like $1,200 new, and you can get a television that's like nearly twice that size for that price nowadays. But hey, it is what it is. You know, that was right when LCD. Actually, it's not even LCD. It's plasma, because plasma has a richer darks than the LCD. That's why I went with the plasma. You know, you sort of pay to support that technology to evolve. So if anybody's bought a television this year, you can thank me for putting in the groundwork 7 years ago. Still quite a few. Okay, cool. It's good to know there's still quite a few people on. So we should have no luck finding a team. All right, so select ship. Let's see where everybody's hiding out. Wow, 8 people on Altamira, nobody on Vega, and there's never anybody on Palmacosta. But I generally find the people that are on Palmacosta, I think it's primarily Portuguese-speaking folks, so don't quote me on that. I've noticed every time it's had anybody on there, that's kind of what's been happening, so. All right, Cake Trap level 5, Mike Music 128, Jaxer 133, cool. We got a good mixed bag of folks tonight. Let's just introduce ourselves. Hey all. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I guess, you know, I don't play enough PS2 to have it bother me that much, but I guess if you're a big PS2 fan, you definitely want to have, like, the sharpest image possible. All right. Wow. Welcome aboard. How are you connected? BBA or DreamPi or PC DC? Nice. BBA is def the way to go for PSO gaming and Quake matches. I dip between both. Cool. Well, it's always nice to see a new face on board. What are the teams looking like tonight? Any good games happening? PSO is pretty popular in international countries. Cool. I know that in Japan, I think that's the only, they still haven't released PSO 2 outside of Japan, if I remember correctly, which is kind of disappointing. Now, I know you can get a patch and play it, so it's not a big deal, but I like an official release. It'd be really nice if they did end up releasing it for, or a version of, for the Switch. I think that would be fantastic. I really didn't like PSO Portable for PlayStation Portable, but, you know, different strokes, I guess. And PlayStation Universe. Sorry, trying to help me, bro. You can't get online. What's the issue? Yeah, Phantasy Star Universe I was really disappointed with. I don't know, there's that whole... I know you don't really see the travel points between ships and stuff like that, you just arrive in lobbies, but for some reason, having that strategy RPG layout where you go in between different parts of the universe, I didn't quite like that. Something about it just really kind of took me out of it. And the way they also had the over-the-shoulder comic character conversations, it didn't feel like PSO to me. It felt like something else. Once you got into the actual game, though, it was definitely PSO, but again, unless you're playing with other people, it was pretty dry. Okay, should we start up a team in the interim? Would really like to grind some XP tonight. I've been helping lots of tonight. I've been doing lots of low level quests lately and not really getting anywhere or anything. Okay, well, let's see what kind of quests we've got going on right now. And also, hey, might as well show this off. It's definitely Dreamcast related. So this is like the easiest thing you can do to your Dreamcast controller. It makes quite a bit of difference just in terms of like the sensitivity of the controller. And that's just adding a little thumb grip to it. So, you know, like I've added a little switch thumb grip to it. It raises up a bit, gives it a nicer feel, better sort of field of rotation, I guess. Organize, join, let's see who we got. So we've got one ultimate team and one hard team. Well, can we get into here? Can't join. Need to use Pi. Okay, no problem. Okay, so quest is in progress. Not a big deal. Well, let's see who we've got actually in the ship right now. Okay, so we played with Yukon before. I don't know if we've played with this person before. Not familiar with this person, not familiar with this person. Kink Trap is new. Mike, I have not played with before, but they've got a pretty serious character, so they've been around. Jaxer, of course, we've played with, and I don't know this person. So, that being said, why don't we start a new quest, leave it open, and see if we can get a fourth player on board. Okay, and first let's just fill in with Mike. Is your bro using BBA? Okay, so let's just find out what exactly is going on with Mike's setup here and see if we can help him out at all. Okay, in the meantime, what's going on in the chat? I miss Quake. Yes, I should probably play that again sometime. I miss it as well. Oh, interesting. You can download PS2 Cloud on Switch by making a Japanese Nintendo account. Okay, well, that's interesting. I don't have a Switch yet, so, you know, I will eventually get one. You know, the rumor of the new models coming out, I'm definitely holding out on a newer model. You know, I loved the DS Lite. I didn't get into it when it was the DS, but you gotta admit, like, the difference between a DS and a DS Lite is night and day. Nobody ever goes back to the DS. It's an ugly, horrible looking machine. DS Lite, streamlined, perfect, feels great in the hands. I'm sure that they went over the Switch with a fine-tooth comb, given the fact that it was such a popular console. And, okay, will do. But, you know, I don't want to be waiting on it too much longer either, because there's a lot of good games out there, and I'm just not playing them. UGB. Okay. And I think I'd actually play the Switch quite a bit just because of the nature of my work. I'm always on the road and I'm always in transit. So I have a lot of time to read and play handheld games, which is why I love playing handheld games lately. Well, I shouldn't say lately. I've loved playing handheld games a long time, but that's primarily why I play a lot of handheld games. It's really the only opportunity I have outside of PSO for console. But even then, for console and PSO, typically the only times I get a chance to play are the times that I'm streaming. Oftentimes I won't play outside of streaming, and that's just sort of like a snapshot of my availability to do this kind of stuff. Okay, bye, Diamate. Do we need some more? Yes, we do. No, we're full. Okay. Hey, Mono Grinder, why not? We'll put that against our... I think we got a couple of weapons that can still use some upgrading. Item pack. Equip. We'll use our Heaven Punisher. And let's throw our Mono Grinder on it. Okay, sounds good. Heaven Punisher. Bang, bang, bang. Okay, cool. So we're gonna wait for a couple more people to join. I think Mike's gonna join us in a little bit as soon as he figures out what's going on with him and his friend there. Okay, cool. Vaughn's joining. We haven't seen Vaughn in a while. Hola, Vaughn. Actually, there's a 0 in there. Cool. Well, we know Vaughn's an excellent player, so this will be a lot of fun. So let's leave the game open and see if we can get a 4th player on board. What's going on in the chat? Did you see the Megalodon movie? No, I did not. I heard the reviews, and the review said it was not very good. And the thing is, though, I love the Steve Alton books. I read them a number of years ago. I used to write for a horror, well, I shouldn't say a horror. It was just a general all-purpose movie website back in the day. It's still around, but I haven't frequented it in probably over a decade, and nobody does. It's dead in the water. They just didn't evolve, you know? Another one of those situations where they thought they could stick with just print media and people went on to video, and it's funny. You know, I think I've talked about this in the past. It was a website called chud.com, and I used to do reviews for it. And the one thing that they always talked about, like we would talk about books and movies and stuff like that, and Meg was constantly thrown around. And I read the first 3 books of Meg. The first one is pretty good. Very straightforward, has a very cinematic feel to it. When you read it, you can't help but think big Jaws. But there was some things in the book that I think they omitted from the movie, which really take away from what I've seen. Again, I haven't seen the movie, but I imagine they didn't incorporate it. The second book, you know, they did what they always do with a sequel. It's okay, let's make it bigger and badder. So let's have the shark versus another type of dinosaur that also survived. And then in the third book, it got really repetitive and boring, and it was just another shark on the loose tail, and a couple of main characters died. That's where it lost me. I know there's, I believe 2 other books after that, but no, I have not seen Meg yet. The Meg, rather. There's, you know, other than just having a big, fun, giant shark movie, which I heard it's not. It can't figure out what it wants to be. Not sure. What is everyone else interested in tonight? Wow, my spelling is atrocious. So yeah, I haven't got around to it. I imagine at some point it'll end up on Netflix, and I'll probably skim through it and have it in the background. But you know, that first book in particular was really good. Yes, most deaf. Lots of bad things. Then we... Cool. Okay. I'll find something interesting. Everyone hit the guild when you're ready. And I'll start it up. Okay, so I think we're just missing Vaughn at this point. Is that true? No, sorry, we're just missing Mike. Dun dun dun. Okay, no problem. Bang bang bang. Okay, cool. We'll wait for Mike to come by. Yeah, so anyways, that website, it also You know, I've known about this guy for almost decades at this point. And it's funny because he had a big falling out in the last 2 years, and we'll talk about this guy in a second. All right, so retrieval, extermination. We got okay, so we can do a pretty cool mop up. Forest, cave, mine. Yeah, let's do an endless nightmare in the mine. That sounds like a lot of fun. Cool. We'll see what happens. So the head guy that did it, you know, what they used to do is they used to just send me like boxes of DVDs. This is back in like 2002, so DVDs were pretty hot back then. You know, it was just like off the cusp of like VHS was still a very, you know, viable medium at that point, but DVDs were just coming around. And all right. DVDs were just coming around, and they were pretty expensive. So, anyways, this website also used to employ a person by the name of Devin Faraci, who even back then was just a slime ball, just the most horrible human being that I'd ever experienced. Can't say met. I've never met him in person. But he would steal other people's articles and put his name on it. He would constantly plagiarize from even magazines like Variety and things like that. It was ridiculous what this guy was getting away with. And he was constantly defended by, you know, the site admins and stuff. And it was just really sad to see, like, you know, there was a lot of people that were involved in that site at that time. You know, this is back when, like, the only type of communication we had really were through forum communications. So, you know, you drop a message, leave a message, reply to a message and stuff like that. Pure private message, but nothing was really in real time unless you were both at a computer at the same time responding to each other's messages in a message board. And it's funny, like that message board is still up, believe it or not. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I just randomly stumbled upon it. I can't remember what I was looking for exactly, but the article led to a Chud article. And yeah, like that site is so dead. I went to Social Blade and like there's nothing going on with it. But anyways, the forum's still live and so is my account. I was shocked, and I think I registered my account back in like 2000. So it may be the longest online presence I've ever had. Apparently there's still a couple of movie reviews up there that I've created from back in the day, but you know, it was a different time. You know, the good old wild west of the internet. And I did actually meet a couple of people like in real life from that. I used to go to a lot of these like horror expos and things of that nature, film expos, and I'd meet people that were also involved in the community. It was a lot more, you know, since the internet was still in competition directly with things like print media. Now, of course, print media is kind of a luxury, you know. If you're able to get print media, if you're able to get your information in print media, it's because you have a lot of money behind you, or it's like a boutique sort of, I almost hazard to say, novelty experience at this point, you know. Kind of like putting an album on cassette. It's like, you know, we're doing this just to kind of like, you know, just for fun. You know, but there's like no real, you know, there's really no market to it unless you're a People magazine or something, or even the New York Times, which do a very nice magazine, but you know, you pay for it, that's for sure. So anyways, what I was kind of getting at with this was like this guy who's a piece of garbage back in the day, I don't think got any better. He ended up having a pretty big fallout recently. I think he got mixed up in that Me Too movement. And, you know, if there's anybody that I could think of, and I try not to have any hard will against anybody, especially like ghosts of like internet past. But, you know, as soon as I heard that person's name being thrown around, I'm like, yep, I could see that. You know, it was bad. Like, yeah, I think about, not often, but like recently I've been ruminating against the value of social media, and like like even with this YouTube account, for instance, like it's great. I'm so glad that I'm able to interact with a lot of these cool people that, you know, including yourselves, that tune in whenever I put up a stream and we get to chit chat. When I look at the chat, sorry, I'm ignoring the chat here for a little bit, but I'm rambling. And the value I'm thinking of is just like the long-term value. Now, you post something on YouTube, you think YouTube's a very viable, permanent entity, and nothing can ever happen to it. But I've been around long enough to have that feeling about other things too. Like when I used to log into BBSs. There were BBSs with tons of financial support behind them, and you'd think they were going to be around forever. You'd invest a lot of time into forums and connecting with sysops, and you'd pay for, you know, more access and stuff like that. And then, you know, overnight the internet comes along and BBSs are obsolete. And it got me thinking about when I used to engage in BBSs, right? And one of the things, shoot, did we miss a switch somewhere? I think we missed a switch somewhere. I can remember one particular instance where there was a flame war going back and forth, and I can't remember what it was over exactly, but I do remember the person was from a town over, and clearly they were way too overly invested in their online image at that point. And the flame war actually resulted in, you know, I believe the person actually committed suicide because of that. And it just got me thinking to a couple of things, like the BBSs don't exist anymore, and this person took it so personally over a medium that you couldn't even follow up on it if you wanted to. Like there's no possible way you can resurrect the information that was on that particular BBS site at that time, unless it's, you know, by some grace of God they've kept it alive all this time, but I highly doubt it. You know, like that's gone, and that person took it so personally that they felt the need to do it, and that medium doesn't even exist anymore. It's really kind of shocking, right? And then I got to thinking, like, I bet you there's people in the past too that have had similar experiences where, like, maybe there was like magazine columns where there's letter to the editors, and there's like the community stuff where people would just reply back in print, and I you know, wouldn't shock me if there's somebody that took it so personally that they felt so hurt, and they felt as though they'd lost their community so much that they had no other options, and they kind of make the most nuclear option, and nobody cares. Like those magazines, unless you're able to like dredge them up and stuff like that, like nobody cares. And if people even do look at it, they're looking at it from a novelty perspective, as in like, I can't believe somebody took this so seriously back then. So anyways, I'm not saying that that's on my plate anytime soon, but what I'm getting at is that YouTube, you know, there's a lot of people that are pretty invested in YouTube and get upset about it for whatever reason, but you know, it could not exist. Oh shit, where's everybody? Very quickly, for whatever reason, you know, like they could decide to pull the plug could be pulled on them, something like, I imagine they've got tons and tons and tons of backup, even though there's so much information on their servers. I couldn't possibly imagine how they'd be able to back it up. But you know, there's definitely websites I used to go to that don't exist anymore, and they just followed a favor, like MySpace. I knew a lot of people that were heavily invested in MySpace. I used to have a MySpace account, and you know, that is pretty much like, no, if it does exist, but nobody really uses it, nobody really cares about it. And you know, same goes for Facebook. And you know, I don't really use Facebook anymore, except to maybe connect with some family members and stuff like that if I need to. But beyond that, it's not like the thing where you go and you chat with your friends and stuff. It's more like, okay, it's where I'll do some e-commerce things, it's where I'll do some promotional things, where I'll connect with family if I'm out of touch, but I don't really use it for its original intended purpose. And I don't know, I can kind of see YouTube getting like that as well. And I was watching a couple of videos recently on folks getting burned out on YouTube and feeling so much obligation to kind of get on and do work and stuff like that. And I get it. I guess if it's your job, you know, you've got a lot invested into it, you're gonna have it on your mind, you know, especially when they start changing their algorithms and whatnot. And, you know, recently I mentioned that I was not monetized anymore for whatever reason. And fortunately, I was able to reapply. So hopefully I've cleaned up my channel a little bit. I think it's because of some of the full videos that are full movies that I had on it. But we'll find out. But this is definitely not my main source of income. And I just want to mention really quickly, hopefully this person is either watching the stream or is going to follow up on the stream afterwards. But Adam, thank you so much for that very generous donation and the lovely comment that followed it. I really appreciate it. That was kind of out of nowhere. But yeah, that was great, man. Thank you so much for that little chunk of change. Little goes a long way, trust me. It all goes right back into this whole setup. I'm thinking about doing a couple of other things to upgrade the stream for some other future projects, but haven't quite got there yet. I'm going to do a little bit more research on some tech and see if it's worth my time to do the upgrade. So yeah, anyways, like I said, I was watching some and listening to some podcasts on some YouTubers, and one podcast I used to really like was the CU podcast, and I really kind of drifted on that because they complain way too much is what it all amounts to. And anyways, they mentioned it as well, like just people getting burned out and not doing anything. And I think, you know, like that makes sense. I can appreciate that people get burned out, but I think people also gotta like take it a little bit less seriously as well. You know, I definitely hop on and do the streams for fun. That's about it. I like playing this game, and I kind of like experiencing it with other people. It's funny because I rarely play console games by myself if I'm not streaming, and it's only because like ever since I've discovered how to do this whole streaming setup, you know, I shouldn't say properly because there's really no proper way to do any of this thing. You just kind of figure it out on your own and what works best for you. But yeah, I just find it more engaging to do with a community than to do it solo. A few of these games I used to play in the past, like I've mentioned ad nauseum, Fallout 3. The amount of time I put into that solo just kind of blows my mind. And it's not nearly as much as some other people that I know put into gaming. I have a colleague friend who I was commiserating about investing a lot of time into Fallout and Diablo 3. And they let me know that they checked on their World of Warcraft account before they stopped playing, and apparently they had invested 189 days into World of Warcraft, which, oh my goodness, like I guess that's possible. That's a lot of time, my friend, to be sitting in front of a computer. But unless it's a parking lot account, you never know. That's always possible. All right, I'm gonna quit rambling for a second and check out what you guys are talking about. I'm kind of doing my own thing in the chat. Never mind, you can't control the dragon. Yeah, I definitely agree that there's an overload in content, which is hilarious because I will hear things about certain people that have millions of subscribers, and I'm like, I've never heard of this person in my life. I have no idea what they're about. And then you see what their content is, and I realize like I'm an old man playing an old game, and that's just what it is. And there's young fellas that have prettier faces than I do out there doing this streaming gig and are quite successful with it, which is probably why the numbers are in their favor. But anyway, where is it going with this? Yeah, I just find that the actual, like, I love the fact that it's an entrepreneurial free place. Like, if you've got an idea and you want to put it up there, go for it. That's amazing. I find people that grow up with it don't appreciate it as people who use it to augment their lifestyle, you know? It's always my big worry about things like the inevitability of stuff like but I like listening to an old man. Hey, perfect. Well, I will continue talking then. The idea of universal basic income. So that sounds like a great idea in theory, and I know people say, well, it's not going to affect anything because if everybody had a universal basic income, they could pay for their basic needs and then not have to worry about things like rent and food and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that's true for maybe the first generation of people. Like, let's say a generation like myself, who work multiple jobs and would really appreciate a little top up. It would go a long way, getting an extra $1,000 or whatever it is. That would be wonderful. But then people use that as an expectation, and people grow up with it, and it's kind of like cell phones. Like, I mean, I definitely remember a time when there was no cell phone. I remember a time when there was just rotary phones, or dial tones were amazing because you could do things like go on the talking yellow pages. You know, and then having the first like cordless phone, holy shit, it was just like a cell phone. Like, it wasn't like I was going far anyways, right? So seeing that evolution, and then going from cell phone where it's like, oh shit, you can just call somebody on the go, that's crazy, and then texting and having like the most rudimentary games as well. And then having my first smartphone, which is I think it was a iPhone 3G. Being able to connect to the internet, and then feeling like, oh my god, like, this is the future. You can do anything you want. But now you grow up with this technology, or certain people grow up with this technology. They evolve with the technology, and it's an expectation. You know, it's like it was always there, and it's just like, if you were there the ground up and you remember what it was like before this stuff was so accessible and so easy to use, like even connecting online, for instance, like the first round of internet users that I can remember were people that were using the internet through BBSs. They would log onto a BBS, and the BBS would have access to the internet, and you would use the BBS as a portal, and you would buy time to access the internet. That's where we were at that point. You had to figure out how to get your computer, and even computers in and of themselves were a friggin' drag. If you built your own computer back in the day, good luck. Drivers didn't work with anything. Different components were built by whoever. Like, there was no, like, it was next to impossible to get everything to cooperate properly back in the day. Not like now. Like, this computer I built, everything's like Lego. You know, it just goes together. There's no expectation. As soon as you turn it on, once it's good to go, you know, it's trying to get everything configured. It's downloading all the drivers it needs and stuff like that to get things working properly. There's no real fight with modern day computers. But even to connect online, it's like, okay, well, what do we do online? Like, I used to have a job as a teenager working at they were called CAP sites. And they stood for Community Access Program sites. And the idea behind them was that they were going to do their best to bridge people into getting comfortable with using the internet. So the idea was that I used to live in very rural Ontario. And these were, you know, farmer type people that would come by, and they were like, I want to use the internet. I want to figure out how to get an email. And back then there was pretty much only one place to get email. Everybody had a Hotmail account. I still have a Hotmail account that I never use. The only time I'll use it is if I go to like a Sears or something and they ask me for my email. I'm like, yeah, I use my Hotmail account. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so I mean, you had to be the most tech savvy of the tech savvy people. And unfortunately for me, I kind of let my technical abilities slide a little bit at a very key time, you know, when it came time to go to college and everything. I didn't feel confident enough in my computer abilities based on the crew I was hanging with, even though in retrospect I've kind of been light years above a lot of people, and chose to pursue other interests instead. You know, those interests have been good. Like, I mean, I've been successful in my own right, but definitely if I would have played the longhand game, it would have been more worth my while to stick with what not necessarily what I knew, but what I was more or less passionate about. And it's not anything to do with gaming or computers per se, but I do really find technology interesting, and particularly how to manipulate technology, even though I'm not generally smart enough to figure it out kind of to be the first person to figure out, although there has been some times where I have been the first person to figure it out. You know, like I like following things on GitHub and learning how to build things there, and you know, learn different exploits and different machines and how to mod different machines to make them better. Not even necessarily video games, but just anything really. You know, fix a television that's broken, or at least attempt to fix it. Take it apart, see what's going on behind a flat screen TV that's not powering on anymore. You know, if it works, it works. If not, hey, you know, you can't break it anymore. Is the way I look at these things. So, you know, I probably should have gone down that path, but you know, what are you gonna do? It's another reason why I think when you're 18, 19, you should not really be making grown-up decisions. I think anybody that gets out of high school should take a very long period away from school to just sort of reassess things and not just feel more comfortable like I've got to pick a subject just because this is what I've been doing for the last whatever 10, 15 years of my life, and I'm afraid to know what it's like not to have that kind of structure. I feel like that's kind of where I was at when I first went to college, to be quite honest. I kind of took what I did because I knew it would mean that I was in some sort of structured thing where I could avoid reality a little bit longer. But it would have been really nice to kind of just jump into reality, because there was a time, like, I didn't graduate college the first time around. I took some time off and I went back, but it's kind of getting that taste of the real world where I realized, holy fuck, it sucks out there. I do not want to be working retail jobs the rest of my life. I do not want wanting to work like construction jobs. Well, particularly construction jobs that I was working at. Like, I remember I had jobs sealing driveways, like commercial driveways, so things for like parking lots for grocery stores and stuff like that. And I can remember one year, you know, I've had a shaved head since about 2001, and one summer I was out there and I got there early and left late. You're young, you're stupid, you don't think to wear things like, you know, sunscreen or whatever. Spent the whole day outside. I came home, I had a sunburn on the top of my head so bad that basically the entire top of my head, like all around here, it was just like one large scab. It was disgusting. And you know, I was sick for days. I just felt nauseous. I don't know if that's heat stroke or not, but it was terrible. Definitely did some damage to myself that day, and it's not like I haven't done damage to myself since then, but just one of those moments where I realized, like, oh man, I'm not gonna make it out of this alive. So let's go back to what we were doing before and try to get this whole post-secondary education thing under wraps. And you know, at the time when I was doing this kind of stuff, like the stuff I do now, like nobody really had an interest in it. The whole reason for me really getting into it was the fact that it seemed like a job that nobody really was taking advantage of, so I thought I might as well do it. And yeah, anyways, everything worked out pretty well for the most part. I'm quite satisfied with where I am at this moment. Things could always change, but I'm not going to live in that mindset. No point in being afraid of the future. The future is going to happen with or without you, so you might as well just kind of live it each day at a time. And today, everything's going all right. Okay, let's tag these guys. And I really got to keep up on my mag. I keep neglecting my mag. That's really disappointing. We are getting quite a bit of XP, though. Holy smokes, yeah, we're doing quite well. So, actually, I think I had some items there I could probably use. Bait material, drop that, and mono grinder. Okay, so let's equip our Heaven Punisher again. No, okay, let's equip our Heaven Punisher, and let's use a mono grinder, and let's equip. There we go. Okay, cool. So is there anything here we can use? No. Okay. And let's tag these guys at least. Now, I have noticed a vast improvement in my ability to hit, the accuracy, in addition to what I'm hitting for, since I took the advice of X-Ban and went back to just regular PSO using the patcher. Now, I did try to use the PAL version of PSO as per PC Wizard's suggestion. It did ask me to enter in a serial and pin ID, so I don't know why that is, why I didn't just transfer my character data over, but I just thought, you know what, this is good enough. I'm okay with using the disk swapper for the USB GD-ROM, so, you know, we'll just stay the course. We're doing okay. Alright, I'm glad that I got to get this out tonight, because tomorrow I'm going to be quite busy. I'm actually going to a concert. Haven't been to a concert in quite some time. It's been quite a number of months, and I used to love going to shows. Back when I first moved to Toronto, like, I was going to shows 2-3 times a week, and like, I mean, local shows, big shows. It was great. I used to love concerts, but it was also a different animal back then. You know, people were involved in the concert. I used to bootleg it, but I was the only one doing it at the time. It was great. I was getting the only hits on YouTube for shows. I would be the only person sticking this camera up in the air. Did we do it? Did we do it? Yes, we did. No, we missed it. Damn it. It's because I was hitting X instead of Y. Jeez, I always choke. Well, at least I was able to... Did I at least donate? I think I did. But anyways, you know, nowadays you go to a show, nobody's really doing anything too far off the beaten path because they know everything's being filmed, and I don't know, it's just not as interesting as it used to be. You know, the crowd's not getting into it. They're more concerned with recording things on their cell phone and stuff like that. You know, this is my old man bones kicking in. It's just like, things ain't what they used to be. Okay, we're supposed to go in here, I guess so. Alright, what are we supposed to do now? So we are supposed to... Okay, cool. I guess one of us goes on here. I guess one of us stays. No? Okay. I'll come in. Okay. Bang. Here we go. So anyways, yes, tomorrow I am going to a gig at Lee's Palace, and I am seeing... If you can get that up there. Ogre! So, who is Ogre? Well, Ogre is the lead singer for one of my favorite bands. I don't listen to them as much as I used to, but they were definitely a huge influence in my early life, and then the last album they put out, Weapon, was actually really good as well. And he's the lead singer for the band Skinny Puppy, who I stumbled upon way back in the day. What was the name of that website? It was hilarious. This is, again, back in the salad days of the internet. And my brother entered a contest on, I think it was Second Spin. Was that the website's name? I can't recall exactly. Or Deja Vu Discs, maybe? I can't remember. It was a contest, and he won 10 free CDs. And hey, great, we're talking like the mid-90s. Free CDs are amazing. So he got to pick a couple of things. So he picked like basically 10 random artists. And we didn't have access to cable television or anything like that. We were very unfamiliar with a lot of the alt scene, and he picked Skinny Puppy. Now, the album that was available at the time was The Process. So that must have been, what, 1994? 95? I can't recall exactly. And got it and was like, wow, this is intense stuff. And then I ended up investing in the earlier albums, and they're quite different. They were quite rougher, but they were still interesting in their own right. And anyways, yeah, I followed that band for quite a number of years, and they became inactive for quite some time because of the death of one of their keyboard synth player sampler guys, Dave Gotel. Unfortunately, he passed away from an overdose in the mid-90s. And the band came back around in the early 2000s and started touring again and releasing an album. Now, the first album that came out of The Greater Wrong of the Right, I wasn't overly impressed with that, but it was just good to know they were back in the game. And then the subsequent albums that they released after that, I tended to like more, and Weapon in particular is just a real return to form. That's them going back to Subconscious Studios and just using a lot of their old equipment to make some really cool industrial music. So Ogre, anyways, he was also busy during that downtime. in addition to doing some other art projects and stuff like that, he did his solo stuff under the moniker Ogre, and you know, it was quite good. It was quite different. It was a lot more fun, a lot more upbeat. Still very technical. There's still a lot of stuff going on in that music, but a lot more fun. So I ended up seeing him back in 2008, I believe it was, for a live show. And didn't really have a great camera at the time, but if you scroll back to like basically my first 5 or 10 videos that I've uploaded to YouTube, you're gonna see a really bad, I think it was like a Sony, what are they called, Cybershot video of one particular song. I think I had just enough memory on my card to take a video of that one song. And yeah, put it up there, and that was it. I was amazed at the time that you could even do that. So yeah, I'll be catching Ogre tomorrow at Lee's Palace here in Toronto, which, if you haven't been there, Lee's Palace is my favorite venue in Toronto. It has always been. I've always said that it's one of my favorite Toronto venues. I used to have, now some of the venues I used to really like, they don't exist anymore, but a few that do still currently exist are still kind of on my hate list, I guess. Going worst to best, the worst venue in the city has to be the Phoenix Concert Center, mostly because of the way they set things up for all ages shows and the security at the time. It was like really tough there. I was thrown out of a number of gigs for stuff that I felt was a little unjustified, but you know, I guess they made their executive decision. And when they had all ages shows, they would block off but you couldn't go up front if you had a drink, which kind of sucked. You know, I guess kind of regular stuff for an all ages gig. But yeah, it was really kind of, I really don't like that venue for a number of reasons. The other venue, which I was really don't like, is the Sound Academy, and that's because just the acoustics of that place are terrible. I can't remember if there's some badges in the hall. I believe there is. Don't quote me on it. Oh, what do we got over here? Something I can take? Did I look at it already? Soul Atomizer. No, don't want it. Okay, Pioneer 2 we go. Yeah, Sound Academy, another thing, all ages show, they block off half the venue where you can't really go up front. Plus the stage is just a little bit too low, so you don't really get a good view of what's going on. The Cool House, which no longer exists, I used to really love that place. That was a lot of fun. The Opera House, definitely a close second, and then the Phoenix Concert Center. That's definitely my favorite. Okay, cool. So this is good. Okay, there's 2 use discs. Yes, okay. I knew about that. The enhancement pack makes things infinitely more difficult. Alright, so let's stock up on some of our stuff here. Sell. What do we got to sell? Anything? Not really. What do we got to buy? Well, we got to buy some Dimates. We got to buy a ton of Trimates because our Mag is loving them. And let's get another Mono Grinder. Let's throw all these on our Heaven Punisher again. What are we doing here? Okay. And items. Let's do it. Use. Oh, we've maxed it out. Dun dun dun. Okay, so what else do we have to equip? Master Beam. Items. Use and use. Cool. Alright, so we are set there. Do we need anything else? Not really. Okay, so let's go to the guild counter for our reward. That was a pretty cool quest. I like those mop-up missions. Oh, sorry, this was Endless Nightmare. It wasn't a mop-up. Alright. Well done. Go to the guild counter to get your reward. And I have maxed out my photon points. That's okay. Cool. Great game. Okay, what do we got going on in the chat, folks? Yeah, nobody seems to know anything about controlling the dragon. Okay, so I'm gonna have to look into that because it's been mentioned a couple times. I'll scroll through the chat after we're done here. Okay, so I guess there is. Maybe it's just rumored that you can control the dragon. Okay, it took a little while to get it together. Okay, whoa, look at this little mess of folks. Not a rumor. Okay, cool. So I guess you can control the dragon. You can control it in towards the future. Interesting. Okay. Alright, so while we are figuring out what's going on next, why don't I just show you guys a couple of different things. So, showed you the Wii. Really happy to finally have a Wii, and tomorrow via the wonderful elves over at Amazon I should have all of the equipment I need to do what I want. But I also did get a couple of other things too. So I've told you guys that I'm really loving the Lynx lately, and I showed you that I was able to mod it with a new screen and did a bunch of other augmentations to it and stuff like that, and it's a wonderful little console. I really like the Wii a lot, or sorry, not the Wii a lot, the Lynx a lot. It's got some really great arcade games, particularly Atari and Activision style games. So there's a couple of games that are very coveted in the Atari Lynx library. I do have one, which is Lemmings, and the other one that not a lot of people have is Double Dragon. Now, Double Dragon was released by a company called Telegames. Telegames is still in business. Telegames still makes Lynx games, and they still make brand new copies of Double Dragon. So on eBay, you'll see prices of like $500-600 Canadian. These are not what I would consider reproduction copies. These would be reissues because it's Telegames releasing the game that they originally released back in the early 90s. So I went to Telegames UK. I believe it was about £40. I can't remember. Anyway, I had some PayPal scratch. Used that. Thanks again, Adam. And I ordered it. And it came in about a week later. And here it is. Double Dragon in box for the Atari Lynx. Let me just try to get that down there so there's not so much glare. Let's put it down this way. There we go. That's a little bit better. So, what do we got in here? Well, we have a box which it came damaged. From what I understand, this is because this box is actually new old stock. At the back here, there's like a little bit of water damage that I noticed. I was a little disappointed, but the paper just feels old. It's got that really old feel to it. So I suspect this is new old stock from Telegames. So I'm not going to hold it against them. The manual, on the other hand, I'm a little disappointed with. It's just printed. It looks like it's scanned versions of the original manual, printed out on glossy printer paper. So that's really nothing special. And then you actually have the cart. Now this is where I'm of two minds. I'm a little bit disappointed. Now it's a high quality cart. It works well. It's got the lip on it, which not a lot do. Okay, maybe I can show you what I'm talking about here if I can get a good angle. If you look up close, you'll see that little ridge at the top here. Let's see if I can zoom in and then pull back and show you guys what I'm talking about here. But there's like a ridge at the top. That's because unlike other Atari Lynx games, okay, you have the chip that's kind of in the center embedded in the plastic. But what they chose to do was just do like a flat sort of flash chip and more or less just glue it across the top of the cart shell and put a sticker over top. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. But again, it's an official release, so I can't really be too upset. You know, it is what it is. I'm never going to spend $500 on a cart-only original copy when this works just fine. I am on the hunt for a Retro HQ, which is the flash cart for the Atari Lynx, but we'll see what happens. So, all right, let's just make sure that we're back in this conversation here, see what's going on. Out in the wild, though, I did find some interesting things. So I got this just for fun because I am a big RoboCop fan, and that's the soundtrack to RoboCop Prime Directives, which was the made-for-television movies they had. They're terrible, but hey, I got the official soundtrack sealed, by the way. Found a copy of Driver 2 for PlayStation 1. So I don't actually own that yet, and I figured for $2, why not? And this I got today at a yard sale, just passing through. It didn't come with the cover, but it cost me 50 cents. I've never played it before, but it's got the back case and the spine, so that's good enough for me. And that's Pitball, so 50 cents, why not? Give it a shot, right? It can't be that terrible. Believe I showed you Razorback the week before. Sorry, just might have to take a quick break here. Ended up getting a couple of other cool movies as well in trades. I got a copy of Grizzly, which is touted as the Jaws with a bear, and Making Contact. I can't remember if I showed you guys last time we were playing that I got that as well. So here's the big one before we go back into the game. I got this, maybe I guess just to depress myself, but it's the complete guitar book for Yngwie Malmsteen's Trilogy album, which I'll never be able to play. But why not, right? Why not? Hey, Yukon, how are you doing? Okay, so what is going on in the game? I did apply also for monetization, which will take about a month to kick in from what I understand, which means that the super chat will be available at that time too. So if anybody wants to participate in the super chat, just let me know. Okay, what is going on? How old is the Lynx? Lynx is from 1989. It was actually technically, I believe, released before the Game Boy, at least in North America. I believe the Game Boy was released in Japan before it came to North America, but the Lynx was technically before the Game Boy in North America. So, you know, that's an interesting little bit of trivia because it's a nice little 8-bit system. I think it might be 16-bit actually. I'll have to double check. It's a nice little system. I enjoy it a lot. Guys, I think I'm gonna have to say goodnight because I've got some things going on in the household that I've got to attend to, so I apologize for the abrupt exit, but I just want to say goodnight to everybody here first. Good night all. I've got to get some IRL stuff just happened. Yeah, sorry about that. Bye bye, sweet prince. Later, love. Okay, character data is saved. Okay, and let's quit our game proper. Actually, what are we at here? Oh, that's not too bad in terms of XP. Okay, cool. All right, and we are going back to the main menu. And here we go. Cool. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. I wish I could play more, but yeah, like I said, I see some things happening on this little monitor I have here, and I've got to go check that out. But that was Phantasy Star Online. We got to do some Endless Nightmare, and I haven't played that in a while, and I don't know why I don't play it more often. There's a lot of XP, a lot of you know, I should really run through it with somebody who knows, like Kurihime, who really knows how to play that level properly, because I bet you there's some secrets in it that I totally passed up. I know you can get some badges or something like that in there as well if you complete it properly, but obviously we missed over a couple of things. We'll do it again, no worries. It's Saturday. Like I said, I'm gonna be off everything tomorrow. Might upload a couple of like little cell phone videos of gig, but I'm going to be out and about doing some adulting, and yeah, and then maybe we can try again on Monday or Tuesday. In the meantime, guys, if you haven't done so already, please rate, comment, subscribe, anything that boosts up the algorithm, because I really want more people to get online. As you can see in the lobby there's a ton of people that are joining all the time. It's just really great to see some new faces in Phantasy Star Online. Share with your friends, all that fun stuff, and yeah, I guess I will talk to you later. Good night.